Hi, thank you so much for joining me today, and in today's video I am documenting 2 photos from a trip to the Natural History Museum in London back in 2018. We just made a very quick trip while we were going down there for the day before Amelia and I went off to meet some friends. So it's just a picture of the entrance hall with the big skeleton that's hanging from the ceiling now of a sea creature. It always used to be a diplodocus, so it was interesting to see the new sculpture that they have up there. Well, it's probably not new anymore, but it's different from when I used to go as a child. And these 2 photos, the other one is of the kids taking a picture of the woolly mammoth. So the photos are just under 3 inches square. I printed them 3x4 and then trimmed them down because one was a horizontal photo and one was a vertical photo, so I wanted them both to be looking the same, so that's why I trimmed them down like that. And I'm using Vicki Boutin's print shop collection to create the background. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do, and I wanted to have a strip across the page and then some layers to the left hand side. So that's my strip across the page, and I'm focusing on the yellows and greens from this collection. So I've just pulled out some of my scraps and I'm trying to get those used up. So a yellow one across the page, and then this green, this yellow with dots, and then I did pull out a full page of this one with the green spots on. So just playing around, trimming some pieces up to work out exactly how I'm going to position these. And it does go with those 2 there, and then the dots one as the smallest strip on top of those 2 to the right. So just deciding whether to put it in between, but I decided that I want to trim it down further in a minute, and I'll put it at the end just like that. So just trim it down again, and you can see I matted those 2 photos on white paper just to make them stand out a little bit more. I'm really liking that look at the moment in my albums of the white border around the photos. So just positioning everything, checking that I'm happy, and then I'm going to come in with my Tim Holtz edge distresser and distress the edges of those papers. So here we go. I won't make you watch all of this because it's pretty boring, but just to give you an idea, that's what I did to all of them, both the vertical and the horizontal pieces there. So just checking that I'm happy with the positioning, and then I can start gluing these down. And I'm trying to make better use of my double-sided tape. When I'm not using wet media, I'm trying to use double-sided tape rather than wet glue as much as possible, because the wet glue does make the papers buckle ever so slightly. So it doesn't matter to me at all when I'm using wet media, but when I'm not, I'm just trying to make a more conscious effort to use that double-sided tape. So they're all the bits are glued together, but they're not glued down to the background because I do want to add some stenciling today. So I'm just going through the 6x8 paper pad in this print shop range to pull some bits out to add some mats. So first of all, I start with this green wood grain and just adding a mat to each of the photos. And again, once that's added, I will distress those edges ever so slightly. Once I've started distressing one piece, I feel that I need to distress everything on the layout. So just working my way around. Please excuse my gravelly voice. I think the allergies are coming out. We're into tree pollen season, and it's only the last 5 or 6 years that I've started to suffer with allergies, but it seems to be hitting me quite bad this year. I wasn't sure if it was a cold because I know that Ross and the kids have had a cold, but I don't feel, apart from sounding very nasally and sneezing an awful lot, I don't feel like I've got a cold, so I'm pretty sure it's allergies. So you'll get my gravelly voice for the next few weeks. So now I'm pulling out this scissor paper. It's not my favourite paper, but it's great for matting and layering because you don't really notice that it's scissors once it's layered up. You just see the black and white background, and that works nice as a barrier between the brighter colours that I've got behind. Not that they're bright, but you know, the more bold colours. So just adding a mat to each of the photos, using my double-sided tape to stick it down, and then distressing the edges just so that it's in keeping with the rest of the layout. And just using my scissors to trim this. I didn't bother with a trimmer. It was fine just cutting with my big scissors. So here I am with that edge distresser and just a very light distressing around each of the 4 edges. So now I'm going to glue these strips down to that horizontal strip, and I like the positioning, so I'm just lifting up the layer of 3 and popping the tape underneath and sticking it back down again. and constantly coming back in with my photos. I wanted to add another big mat underneath the two photos, so I pulled out this pale blue, slightly tealy graph paper, and I'm just creating that mat with a torn strip across the bottom. And I just feel that that sort of binds everything together and takes away from that busyness of the background with all the different layers. So again, just distressing those edges and then adding that there. And the photos just overlap the edges very slightly, which I like the look of. So now getting those photos in place so that I can stick those down as well. So just overlapping the edges slightly and then bringing in my double-sided tape and getting those stuck down onto that mat. And there we go. Just checking the positioning again. And I like the way that the photos hang off that horizontal piece. So getting that mat stuck down, and then everything is stuck apart from the background card. Everything else is stuck together. So it does take a bit longer using the double-sided tape, but like I say, you don't get any of the warping that you do with the glue. So now I'm just coming in with my pencil and I'm going to mark exactly where that mat's going to go, because I want to, like I mentioned before, I want to add some stenciling. I'm using one of my Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous stencils, and it's a brilliant layering stencil because you can shift it and then add the same shape to a different area. You'll see what I mean in a minute. And I'm just coming in with Mowed Lawn Distress ink very lightly. I think it's Mowed Lawn. Actually, I think it's Bundled Sage, isn't it? It's not Mowed Lawn at all. It's Bundled Sage. And as you can see, I'm just moving the stencil up so that I can get the stenciling all behind that mat. And I do keep bringing the mat in just to check that I'm happy with the positioning, because I want it to just peek around the edges, focusing on the right-hand side, but also bringing some into that left-hand side as well, so it doesn't look completely blank. And I haven't had to re-ink my dauber at all. I'm just using what's on it. So nearly there with this first layer. Just want to add a bit to that top left-hand corner. And then, I don't know whether you can see it on screen, but if you look very closely at the stencil, the shape is actually on each of those circles. And when you line up the shape with those circles, you can overlap like I'm doing now. So it creates more like a harlequin look. And I love that. So just going around and doing that to all the areas that I've already stenciled on. And it just creates a much tighter design. Almost there. And you can see how I'm just lining them up into the centre of those circles. And there are some guidelines to do that on the stencil, but I don't know how clearly that's showing in the video today. So now that's all down, I'm going to stick the huge photo mat down, and then I can start working on embellishing. Almost there, just making sure, because it's quite heavy obviously with all those layers, just making sure that I have plenty of tape to it. And this tissue tape's brilliant because it tears so very easily. You don't have to mess about with scissors. Just put it down and tear it off. And the backing does come off quite easily. If you give it a good rub to make sure it's stuck down well onto the paper, the backing tape comes off very easily. So just getting that stuck down there. And now I'm looking through the thickers from this collection, but I didn't have the thickers to be able to spell Natural History Museum. Didn't have enough letters left. So I'm just looking at the puffy to see what I can put there instead. And I fall on this word that says details. So I'm actually going to spell out photo details. So use the puffy to write the word details, and then I come back in with those thickers, the chipboard thickers from the print shop collection, to write photo. So here I am now, and you'll see I start laying them down and then realise that I don't have a T. So I just take one of the F's and cut the top off to create my own T. And because they're like a ransom letter, because they're all different, it actually works really nicely. The sizes are all different as well. So there's my adapted tea. And I just didn't want too many of the same colours together, so just having to play with which O's I want to put there. And there you have it. So now having a quick look through the puffies to see if there's anything else, and I see this word that says remember, and I think that looks cute underneath the picture of the kids. And then a little gold puffy star. And now into the ephemera pack and papery pieces. So I find this washi tape sticker, which I like the look of. At first I think it's going there, but then I move it over to the left here, and in fact I stick it down and it does go back to where I had it in the first place. I should always leave things where you think first of all. I love this piece here, that's another washi sticker, so I'll just nestle that under there. First of all, getting this Oh Happy Day piece stuck down. And this one does throw me a little bit because it's got pink in it and I haven't got the pink anywhere else. You'll see later on I try and bring some more pink in, but I don't like the look of it, so I take that off as well. So just struggling to pull the backing off the washi tape. And there it is, and getting that stuck down. And I love the transparency of those. They work really nicely. So now going through the 6x12 sticker sheet to see if there's anything on here, and I find this little tag that says moments, which I think looks sweet. And then the glasses, I just think, well, they're looking at things, so they'll work up there because I'm never going to use them otherwise, so just get them used. And then this is where I get thrown by that washi sticker, because I find this little notebook thing that says This Life, and I really like that to add as an embellishment in the bottom left hand corner, but it's totally going to go over that washi tape, so I have to pull the washi tape sticker up and put that elsewhere. So just getting that stuck down in that bottom left hand corner, and then I'll come in with a washi tape sticker and put it, as I say, underneath the photo details, which is where I'd laid it in the first place, but there you go. So now coming in with my journaling, just adding some pencil guidelines, and then I write my journaling and I just write about the day and what we did. And it was quite nice to have that big space there to get a lot of the notes down of the day. And then just going through the 6x12 stickers and the 6x8 sticker book to see if there's anything to add. That little beige piece was take a picture, it lasts longer, and I think that looks nice. And then I'm coming in with some of the wax twine. This is a pale grey to add to that moments label at the top there. And I start with a fairly big piece because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with that, and in the end I was pleased I did, because I decided to come in with another label behind it and just trimmed off the excess that I didn't need, and that just says here, so I can push that grey wax thread through that tag as a continuation. And I do love how this looks, just tying it slightly through so that it stays in place, and then adding some glue to the back of that tag. And I will deal with the tails of that tag later. So now I'm coming in with some of the new printables from Hey Little Magpie, and this is the Wildflower set, but it works really nicely with these colours. So I'm just bringing in some of the tans around the page. This is one of the labels. So they're called printables, and you can download them as a PDF and print them out yourself at home. And I also add the SVG to the website so that you can use your scan and cut, or your cutting machine if you want to print and cut. So here's where I try and bring that pink in, because the pink matches really nicely to the pink on the washi sticker. But when I've had it sitting there for a while, I decide that I'm not actually happy with it, and I do replace that with one of the tan coloured ones again. So that little circle says together, and they're 1-inch circles, so they work perfectly with the naked epoxy Flair that we sell as well on Hey Little Magpie. And just bringing in a few more of these labels in the various yellow sort of tones, yellowy orange tones. They work really nicely. So this just shows, although they're designed to go with specific collections, they will work with your other collections as well. Just have a play and see what you think. So now bringing a chipboard piece up to the top left-hand corner, but I don't like the chunkiness of this chipboard. I don't know why it really offends me. So I tend to peel off a few layers just so that it's not quite so bulky. So adding that to the top left, and then this banner piece that says special, that was from the 6x12 chipboard stickers. And just popping some foam onto the bottom of that so that it doesn't dip when it's in the page protector. So now I'm going to deal with those tails of the wax thread, and I just add a dab of glue underneath them, and then I'm going to add a little gold puffy dot just to anchor them into place, and that looks really nice. So here I am replacing that pink label with a tan one, and I just feel that that blends in much more nicely rather than standing out as it did before. So now covering up the photo so I can come in with some of my Heidi Swap Gold Colour Shine spray just to add some splatters around. And then once that's down, I will come in and add a few more little bits and the date below the journaling there. So using my roller date stamp to add the date, and then a couple of puffies to the bottom right hand corner just to drag the eye from top left to bottom right. I do like that diagonal look to my layouts. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you've enjoyed this process. Sorry it took a bit longer today, but it was quite an involved page. And I shall see you again very soon. Thanks again. Bye.